From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Wakers, pearls, and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance, it was resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables that we set. To form the Deanest Nightly, never free from the debt. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in the sky. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage. Can reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan, now there's crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tent that was prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined where was next. Temples from the rubble, made cathedrals from the struggle. Turned the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, here we go. This is Touching Bases with the People. We are under the umbrella of Under the Groove podcast, man. Let's get it in. All right, this is where we get down with the get down. We focus on the focus. Also, man, first and foremost, this is where B1 equals Black first. All right. Actually, that word has a lot of meanings, a lot of connotations to it. I was just sitting up thinking about that. Black first. It ain't just us first. You know what? I am black first. You know, it could, I am black first, not, all the other handles we have, in the world, or especially in this country. But most importantly, just understanding what B1 means. Again, there are those of us who have decided or come up with our own ideas, ideology, concepts of what B1 means to us. I think it means a great deal, no matter what you attach to it. It's the fact that you are saying, I acknowledge that B1 matters. All right. So that is. All right, Queen and Zinga, you the first today. Wonder why. All right. Good to see you up in here, girl. Peace and blessings to the World Group congregation. I trust everyone's week is starting off great. And let me backtrack. I'm hoping that the Saturday and Sunday everybody had, was spent in such a way to where it was pleasing to you. You got a lot out of it. You appreciated that the fact that you were in that space with whoever you were with, even if you were by yourself, you enjoyed the fact that you were there. All right. That's all that matters. Okay. Yeah, this is where we get down with the get down, everybody. So come on up in here. Let's do what we do. Long day. Well, not really. Not a long day, just a busy day filled with a whole lot of this and that, Hold on, let me do this right quick. It's kind of warm out here today in the valley. And that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I'll take that sometimes over the rain or the cold. Last few days, last week, it was actually very, very cold. I'm glad to get a little heat today. I actually love the sunshine. Me, I have no problems with the sunshine. It gets hot sometimes. You're like, damn, it's too hot. But still, I love the sunshine. I love the sun. I love heat to a certain extent, Oh, man, long day. But anyway, a day still, filled with, obligations, things that needed to be done were done. So it's so far so good. That grand rising, remember, that's a significant thing, significant phrase in that, okay, when you get that opportunity to get up, man, and be up and about, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Do not let it fall by the wayside, or do not disregard the fact that you got up, That means a lot, man. A lot of us don't even take it like that. Again, when we're talking about blessings, a lot of us miscount blessings or we don't recognize them for what they are, so we tend to not give them credence, and blessings is a term that, most of us are used to using, so I use it for that purpose. Me, I say, man, we're fortunate, when the ancestors, breathe life back into the spirit, the soul, say, hey, right, time to get up. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. I take it for what it is. Have no issues with that. Trust and know. Yeah, been busy though. Been real busy on that other channel trying to put that stuff, that work in, man. And it's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm kind of appreciative for it. You know what I mean? I look at it, I go and I monitor it, go in the comments, read, all the comments, and respond to all the comments. I think there was one I didn't respond to today. It was a short though. Shorts are doing real nice, man. And I appreciate the people coming in and going in and checking out the shorts, giving it the time of the day. They're minute shorts, some are no more than a minute, 50 seconds, something like that. But nonetheless, man, they're getting traction, and we appreciate that here at Under the Groove Podcast. That's just an indication, a signal that the people are supporting the platform, or excuse me, the channel. Can ask for no more than that, what I've asked for in terms of the people who are involved in this get down, I've received. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So appreciate that. But yeah, that channel is up and running. And again, I did change the name. Lorraine, since I can't wait till she come back on board so I can say, hey, did you go check it? I'm pretty sure she has. She was the individual to say, hey, you know what? You might want to think about changing the name of the new channel. And I had been thinking about that anyway, just to hear it again, from somebody to say, hey man, it could do this, that, or the third, or because there are so many names that are similar, you might want to think about doing that, which I say again with some good advice. I actually went and did that. So the new channel is The Art of Political Discourse. And as far as that channel go, I've been putting in a lot of content, political stuff though, all political, geopolitical, politically, attached to this country as well, dealing with whatever the issues are, be they in the house of politics or just in the streets, just, dealing with the content as I see not fit, but as I see worthy of bringing to the masses. A lot of this stuff goes over our heads, and even truer still, a lot of this stuff, a lot of things we don't get. I have a situation where I get news feeds and stuff like that, but I noticed that when the real news is taking place, those who control information, they decide on when they're going to let it hit mainstream media. That could be national syndications, those news channels, ABC, CBS, NBC, all those others, as well as social media channels. They decide, or they call when certain stories go out. I kind of understand why they do that, because I think it's a matter of, if it's something just really wild, they want to be able to, well, those in power who tell those who run the news, or, dispense information to us, say, hold up, we'll tell you when to go. That's how I see that. I don't doubt it for a minute that that's actually what happens, but hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a whole lot of things in my life. All right. I think that being wrong is not the issue. Whether or not I'm going to correct myself is what matters. So there that is. If I'm wrong, then I have an opportunity to correct myself. And speaking of that, I want to make a correction, because right now, in terms of what I said, there's nothing supporting it. I just recall the information being different, years back when it came out, and that concerned Michael Jordan's involvement in the private prison industry. Again, I and others, we've talked about this. That was the news, and it wasn't some other individual named Michael Jordan out of Texas who had a business or was kind of rich. No, that wasn't the information. But again, that's neither here nor there. From certain accounts, that I went and looked at again for whatever reason, that it's been changed. Okay, it's not or Mike. Okay, so on that note, to anyone I've offended, in terms of Mike and his contributions, not just on the basketball court, but anywhere else that matters to the people, I extend my apology for that. And that's okay. I don't have an issue with that. I don't feel, any less of a man or individual because I've made a correction. That's the thing I think that's missing in a lot of our lives today. A lot of us are not willing to correct ourselves, even when we're convinced we're right. But, there are other, circumstances or matters, issues showing that, hey, man, you could be you could be wrong. So I take that, man, like, with a grain of salt, man. It's nothing for me to go on and say, okay, you know what, maybe I was wrong. And as a result, let me extend my apologies or let me, correct myself, my statement. That's what I'm doing. So Mike, man, is back in good graces for now, with me and others for now, still though we have this thing about, or where our brothers and sisters who have the wherewithal, who have wealth, and they choose to go about utilizing their wealth, not necessarily how they see fit, but I'll throw in there how they see fit or how they're directed to do it. It's theirs to do it as they please, or whoever controls it. Tell them, hey, you're not going to get returns for that. So we're not going to knock that, but just imagine the many brothers and sisters who have wealth in the monetary or financial sense, man, and what they could do, or what they could do for the communities. It would change, our communities or the society as we see it. So there that is. All right, Quinn and Zinga say, man, some celebrities have enough money to clean the internet and change the history. That's true. That's true. But again, we have to take into account, and I'm mindful of this, more often than not, that, even these people, we look up to them, we say, okay, they have wealth, they have abundance. What a lot of us fail to realize is that a lot of them don't even control their purse strings. That's true. A lot of them do not control their purse strings. Me just saying that right now takes me back to when Kanye, or when Ye was going through that issue with his with the Israeli guy who was supposedly his handler, and how this individual attempted to have Ye committed. And along with his attempting to having committed, made a statement to the point where, yeah, I'm going to run all your shit. I'm going to be, the not necessarily overseer of it, but the one who will have control over your paper. What was that? I forget the title and name of what they call that. Britney Spears' father was given, that right to manage her money how he saw fit. Not executor, it was something else. But yeah, that happened to Kanye West, or Ye. And at first everybody thought he was crazy. Man, he's losing it, because he had started to put out some, I wouldn't say whack music, but a lot of it was over, the heads of many of us, so we were in the mindset of thinking, okay, is he losing it? Had he been affected that badly by, his kid's mother's family, as well as herself, to the point where he was losing it. A lot of people thought about that. All right, there you go. Appreciate that. All right. What's that? Conservatorship. All right. All right. Yeah, they get the purse strings. They get to determine how that money is spent, or give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If Brittany wanted to go buy a car, she couldn't, though she had millions and millions of dollars, The same could be said for a lot of these individuals. So when we wonder why a lot don't do more for the community, it could very well be that conveyorship, conservatorship, someone having control over their purse strings. I recall reading somewhere where when young athletes now come into the pros, they have these classes, or these yeah, classes where these young cats have to take these classes, or they not necessarily assign people to them to help them budget and manage their money, but there's this thing now when they come into the pros, they want them to understand that, yeah, this is a lot of money, and if you don't handle it right or whatever, you can lose it fairly quick. A lot of us misunderstand contracts, especially on that level, when they say, hey, he signed for 300 million, yeah, but in how many years? And then what are the guarantees, or what stipulations are attached to this contract? There are a whole lot. Again, a lot of us don't really understand what's really going on with a lot of our people that's in that those spaces, and those spaces aren't controlled by any of our people. We're talking about money, man, and this money, man, is controlled by people who say that they are the number one experts at managing money. So you could see it where individuals will tell certain individuals who especially might have an affinity for where he come from, who wants to really do something for his community. They'll sidle up on him, say, no, that's not a good investment. We had this discussion as well before, where they would tell them, no, that's not a good investment, but here's one for you. And just imagine what that investment or that charity is, on who's behind it. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of that going on. Conservatorship, that's the one, man. Yeah, Brittany went through that, man. I bet she was happy as all get out when she finally got control over her purse strings again. And Kanye, man, instead of, I think what we saw with Kanye was, okay, they couldn't take everything from him. They took about $1 billion, if I remember correctly. Left him, they thought they had broke him. And then Adidas tried to go in on him and swindle him even more. But I think he was left for like 400, 500 million. And from that, he was able to, do whatever, he was able, or had the mind to do, in terms of making that money grow again. You haven't heard much of him in the media, that's for sure. That's for sure. But I think when it went bad for Kanye, when they decided, okay, we're going to get you, we got to teach you a lesson, is when he made the statement he made when the Hurricane Katrina had hit Louisiana and created all that devastation, especially in the black communities. He made the statement that George Bush didn't care about black people. That was when I think it went all bad for him. Then he lost his mother, and what I would say allegedly is a suspicious, death, unliving. I imagine, man, that had to be sad as shit, though, man. You lose your mom like that on a routine procedure. Routine procedure. He lost his mom. And I think that's when he, that's when they say he was really starting to unravel. Again, he had people handling him. And so back to my point, we have a lot of people that are in the industry who are handled in more ways than one. And again, it's just not the purse strings that these people who have all this money aren't in control in. It's their very lives. They can't do too much of anything with their own lives. They're being handled because, those who have money, they actually invest in these people. So now, again, this, I don't know if we can label it slavery, or being owned by some personal corporation. There's that possibility. So if that's the case, then yeah, man, a lot of people who want to do what they want to do aren't even in that space, or they don't have it like that, you know what I mean? Because just imagine if they go against the grain, then the grain would say, okay, now we're going to take everything we gave you. And again, that starts from the contract. A lot of us, we don't understand contracts like we should. We don't get, go and get, some people, our people who might know this stuff, man, the ins and outs of them, say, man, what does this mean? We'll go get them other people, and they'll tell that means nothing. Don't worry about it. Just sign here, sign here, sign here, and that'd be the problem. You sign there, man, a year later, you decide, you're not feeling, the atmosphere don't agree with you. You know what I mean? The people you got around you, the vibe is wrong. So you want to move on and move away. And they say, no, you can't do that. Read the contract. You know, so I think that's some of what our people go through. Okay. All right, Raymond Squad, I see you, my brother. Peace and blessings, man. The grand rising to you and yours, homie. It's good to see you up in here, man. It's good to see you up in here, man. Raymond Scott says salute to you, bub. Greetings to your family. Peace and blessings to the Royal Group congregation. And let me backtrack, man. William Vines, I appreciate you, man. You know, boom, putting that right here, man, waking me up. You know, telling me what the name and the title is. And for whatever reason, I'm having a problem just pronouncing it. All right. But anyway, I appreciate you coming in here, man. And this is, as you know, at least I like to think that you know, this is Under the Groove Podcast, and you are touching bases with the people. Scott, you know, it's good to have you here, brother. You know, you're more than welcome to be here, man. This is where we focus on the focus, and B1 equals Black first. That's what we push here, man. Right now, just it's just general, you know, conversation or dialogue, you know, depending on whether or not you want to jump in here. You know, we can go back and forth to this thing heats up, you know, which it will. But right now, it's just, you know, it's touching bases with the people. And that's what I tend to want to do every time we come in the first 20, 30 minutes, man. Just touch and tap in with the folks, man. So it's good to have you in here, brother. All right, Queen and Zinga, you as well. And Raymond Sco, man. How's that thing going, Raymond? How's that going, Roscoe, the situation? I might turn on my notification just in case they ain't been buzzing or, you know, ringing all day. I don't know what it was about. I've been very busy, but I'm gonna go in there and check it out, man. See if you dropped anything new. I was just telling everybody, man, I've been up and at it since early this morning, man. You know, just putting in the work, you know, doing what I do. And I'm really liking it, man. Getting the knack of it, man. So it feels good to me, especially when I go back and just check everything and I'm seeing them, you know, that it's gaining traction. So that's a good look. And then what's even better about it, I'm not necessarily proud, but I take satisfaction in knowing that, you know, the channels are getting hits and recognition based upon the content, and the content is not negative in any form of fashion. Now we might, you know, we we say, man, everything is above board here. You know, we see no evil, speak no evil, and hear no evil, but we speak truth to power. So every now and then an individual might come up, and you know, my opinion does not mean nothing. You know what I mean? In this space, it's just my opinion. And I will say what I think I need to say in terms of what I recall of that individual's history or past. You know, because we have a tendency, or there is a tendency for those in power, those who run everything, to put before us individuals that they deem should be, you know, or our icons, our leaders, you know what I mean, above reproach, you know. So one thing I'm always mindful of is being mindful of who comes into our space in terms of the content I drop. So I'm not gonna hold nothing against nobody, but I will speak, you know what I'm saying, in terms of, you know, what I recall about history of that individual. And that goes back to me just saying this thing about Michael Jordan and having stock, or, you know, being on the board of this private prisons thing, you know. The brother did, you know, I think it was Al said, no, but that ain't the case. So I went back and looked it up, and, you know, rightfully so, I did that. But yeah, if you ask me, the information changed. It's not our Michael Jordan, it's this other Michael Jordan, right? And I say, okay, I don't recall that back then, man. They didn't say that back then, and this was years ago. So yeah, it changed. And as a result of, I say, okay, man, you know what? I stand corrected. I stand corrected. All right. So it's not a problem for me to say, okay, to those who I may have offended about our brother, man, I stand corrected. I apologize, blah, blah, blah. But again, man, just when we're dealing with, you know, our people, man, I think we more than anyone else have to be straight up. Everything has to be above board. And then we have to know who our people are. We can't allow for people to just put people in front of us. And, you know, for the most part, when they do that, they erase past, they erase issues or concerns, you know, they, you know, extract shit from, you know, the record. and say, hey, no, he's good, he's legit, okay, but I don't think that's for them to decide in terms of who we think is legit in our community, so there that is. All right, but Raymond, you going to say, man, just dropped another dope piece of content right now. All right, when is it dropping? What time? Because I normally go in, man, and I schedule for like hours ahead of time, so I give the algorithm time to find, where it wanted to be, what I mean? So it can put it in a space or a place where, it'll get recognition, you know what I mean? Where, the algorithm would, be dropped into, or it'd be dropped into an algorithm with a certain flow to it. And I've noticed again, I was saying earlier before you came on, that I noticed how things are picking up on both the channels. So that, that's cool. I schedule it, because I had actually checked out a piece, man, in terms of content and how to drop it, when to drop it, and it seemed to be working. All right. So I used to just, make it, boom, 30 minutes later, man, I'm dropping it. You know what I mean? And I'm setting the schedule for 30 minutes after I dropped it, and that the advice was, okay, you have to give the system time, the algorithm time to go over the video and find exactly where it should be placed in the algorithm based upon what was said in it, the title, your hashtag, stuff like that. But again, yeah, I'm seeing progress and I appreciate it, man. Yours don't look bad, man. Look like you gaining traction, bro. You gaining traction. So I know after this, I'm gonna go out, and go and check you out for sure, for sure. All right. So it's good to know you on your game, man. Focus on the focus, homie. It's what you gotta do. All right. Well, who we got, man? Benjamin Vaughn. What it do, loved one? Peace and blessings to you and yours, Grand Rising. Good to see you back. Good to see you back. Peace right back to you. Hopefully it's everything. And again, that Grand Rising was something special for you and yours today. You guys took advantage of this blessing or opportunity, man, to be here, not just here, on touching bases, but you know what I mean, in the space of the living, man. All right. So peace and blessings, brother. Good to see you up in here with us, man. Raymond says, I enjoy doing the research. Damon Porter motivated me to better my vocabulary. Laugh out loud. So I have another great work coming in a couple of days. Yeah, I'm too, again, that's the homie. We was on the yard together, everything. We chopped it up, man. Every yard we come chop it up, man. Talked about shit that made sense, and here we are, So that's a good look, man. I'm glad that the brother's out here and he's doing something constructive. He's not caught back up in that BS, man. So that's a good look, and again, just the fact that he's here, look, he can reach out, man, and motivate individuals, not only that, but he can talk to individuals, man, if he sees fit, man, about those things that matter, so that's a good look in and of itself as well. I got to give him a call, just tap in with him, see how the hell he's doing, man. I ain't talked to him in a few days. And it's been a few days, actually. Yeah. So yeah, man, continue with the get down, bro. Stay focused on the focus. I'm like I said, I can't wait actually to get through this so I can go check out what you drop. And then I know shit, we coming up on the end of the month. I don't think I did anything in terms of Black history. I talk about Black issues, you know what I mean? Geopolitically as well as here in, within these United States. So I don't know if that's the same thing, you know what I mean? But it is about the progression of the people, you know what I mean? Not only, where we're headed, I'm saying, but where we've been, where we come from. So I know the same thing, but still I do that. All right, Tantrum knows what to do, loved one. What's up with you, man? Appreciate you up in this get down, my brother. Good to see you. You say, what's up, OG? And what's up to the chat? What's up to the chat? Front and center, man. That's a good look. That's a good look. Raymond Skull 102 said it should be now, but I did hear that scheduling it is better. I'm going to begin doing that in the future. But here's the thing. Just, for you, your own sake, or your own, for your own peace of mind in terms of how you get down with your shit, measure it. You know what I mean? You drop a piece. Let's say you drop a piece that's not scheduled today, tomorrow, whatever, and then you drop another piece, however you drop it, schedule it and see what the difference is in terms of whether or not the algorithm, took this one, you know, before it did this one or did this one better because of an algorithm than that one. You know, I think that's a good way to measure whether or not, you know what I'm saying, you're going about it the right way and whether or not it serves you and how well you know, your content does when you drop it, bro. That would be a good look. That would be a good look. I mean, something to think about. You know, you already use your head. You know, I can see now be thinking, man, your shit is on point. Yeah, shit, do the damn thing, homie. That's what I say. Yeah, so hey, Tantra, man, good to see you up in here, man. All right, Benjamin Vaughn, I see you. Black Fist, my brother. Crowns, man. That's the king there. All right, Julius Stroller. Excuse me. Yeah, that's Julius. Trollinger. Excuse me, Julius Trollinger. He said, I love that interview with you and Lil Jon from Nine Deuce Hoover. Yeah, man. You know the crazy thing about that? I have content that I did with loved ones that I still haven't dropped. In fact, what you're talking about now, and I dropped that I think last week, and it did damn well. I was actually surprised with it, but I have more content. And it's not that I haven't dropped it because you know these dudes, you know, our brothers are talking about something we don't talk about on the Get Out. No, that wasn't it. I don't. I think I didn't drop it because you know initially, you know, the first two videos, the first 2 videos did damn good, and the third one kind of like was like I'm like, all right, you know, I'm just you know mothball that one, and that's what I did of those. But I got a lot of them that I haven't dropped, and I'm actually in the process of going through them and dropping them, you know, just to see how they do. And most of them are informative and educational. So again, most, you know, anything we drop on Under the Groove podcast is not going to have the BS in it, you know. And again, you know, yeah, I know where I come from, the community, everything, but that makes no never mind. You know, if the content does not serve the people in some form of fashion, it's not going to get dropped. You know, but I appreciate you liking that last one, man. And it's actually doing good. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for going up in there, man. Raymond Scott said you'll and everyone will. Me and everyone else will like this piece. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. That's the truth, man. That is the truth. But in terms of like content, I got something I'm gonna drop tomorrow, and you know I think is you know it's informative, you know, and it's speaking to you know just you know the things we see on social media, man, and how a lot of our brothers participate with this, you know, with this, I call it BS, you know. I'm not calling anyone out, you know. That's something else we don't do. We tend to keep away from that, you know, not shy away from it, but we tend to keep our distance from it, you know, because the last thing I want or I'm even going to be a part of is some back and forth shit on the internet, you know what I mean, on social media. That's just so beneath me, man. I no, that won't happen. That won't happen. But yeah, man, there that is, you know, it'll be up and running tomorrow. You know, I sat down today and wrote it out and figured out how I wanted to go about, you know, sharing what it is I thought needed to be said. Being real mindful of it, you know. Again, that space is not for me. You know what I mean? You know, to each his own. But I wouldn't advocate that anyone should start something like that. I mean, we have enough problems as they are, you know what I mean? Or as it is, than to have to, you know, create something like that, man, and just throw it out there at the people. Just more garbage, you know what I mean? How the hell, you know, we plan to or we hope to improve or empower ourselves when that's mostly all we see. So, you know, I'm addressing it, but I'm gonna do it in a way again where it's always gonna be respectful. I'm always gonna be respectful, you know. I'm not looking to be a conflict with my brothers, but at the same time, I'm looking to let brothers know, man, like, hey, we could do better. You know, we can do better. We need more brothers addressing this stuff, man, so that brothers, you know, start, you know, getting it in their minds. Okay, man, yeah, they doing a disservice, you know, with, you know, more hurting the community and the people in it than helping the community and the people from it, you know? That's something I say. All right, all right. Julius Rollinger says, I love that interview with OG Hawk from 107 Underground. He speaks highly of the Hoovers. Yeah, he did. Hawk did, did good, man. I think that was Kev Mack. I think he did that video with Kev Mack, and not only did he do a good job, he was very respectful, you know what I'm saying? But he grew up. See, that back in the day stuff was different, man. Even though you might have had differences, there might have been, very few issues, man. Them brothers all knew each other, And I would go so far as to say, man, they knew each other's mamas, brothers and sisters, the families, you know what I mean? I was just looking at some, in fact, with Hoover Joe interview I did. I said, okay, man, that was a nice interview. And what I want to do, or what I'm going to do, is make some shorts out of that video, and that's another video in terms of everything I have that I haven't dropped, So I said, I'm going to do some shorts with that. And he's speaking to that exactly in what I was just talking about people back in the day just knowing each other, and you might have had some differences. Okay, let's put them fists up and go on. And after that, hey, man, all right. Hey, I'll be over there, man, tell you, your sister, your mama, your family said hello. Went on about their way, Yeah, that's crazy. In fact, we grew up like that. We grew up knowing everybody, from some everywhere. And that was because of not just, the proximity, or they lived on this street, we lived on that street, or we went to the same schools, chased after the same women, females, you know what I mean? Did some of the same things. If pigeons didn't bring us together, dirt bikes did, things of that nature, junior high school and elementary to junior high school. So, things have changed to the point where I don't think that the brothers today don't have knowledge or don't know the individuals who they call themselves beefing with as well as we did. I think that they do. But I also think there's something else at work here. Back then we weren't drugs was not something we indulged in. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, drugs did exist back then. Lovely and water. You had that loop. But weed, was the thing back then. I wasn't really a weed head back then either. Drank some Old English, man, or some Wild Irish Rose, some Silver Satin, some Night Train, you know what I'm saying? That type of get down. But drugs didn't play a role in how we, acted or conducted ourselves as a result of using drugs. Drugs could have never been the excuse with us. And again, that's not to say cats didn't smoke water. Been to a lot of parties, man, a lot of parties back when we were young, when that shit, you first thing you smell, but it was more like the older heads would do it, you know what I mean? But, drugs didn't play a role in how we get out. So we didn't have that excuse. We couldn't tolerate, you couldn't have that excuse. And when drugs came around in the early 80s, I can recall getting out of youth authority in funniest thing where I got out in 83 and went right back. I mean, seriously, I don't know if I was out a month, and back then, it was different again, just really active and shit. Went back, got out again, maxed out in 85, but before I went back, yeah, the rock game was just now getting started, you know what I mean? And it was crazy. But even then, I recall that was something you couldn't do, on the set, because that would get you banished. You know what I mean? You'd be, hey, man, you gotta get the hell out of here, But I do recall even more so coming home in 85, that was a no-no, plain and simple, even for those who say, okay, back then, man, the early 80s, dudes was, okay, they was smoking Primos and shit, and say, okay, I don't, I didn't indulge, but okay. So it became something that was okay until it wasn't okay. By the time I got home 85, that was a no-no. You couldn't do it. You wouldn't be over there. You know, we have a lot of individuals that, as a result of, they went to other neighborhoods, sets, gangs, or whatever, because it was something that wasn't tolerated. We had some that's, that, don't get me wrong now, that did, and it was discovered or whatever, and whatever took place as a result of that took place. You know what I mean? But today it's different, man. It's different. It's super different, man. Everything is a go. You know what I mean? Everything is a go. You can do anything, man. And it seems to be, if you are doing anything, you wanted to end, or you're in the in crowd. It's kind of sad, man. Kind of sad, man. Young brothers too. Young brothers. Yeah, that interview with Hawk was cut from a different cloth, man. That was a great interview. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if I heard correctly, I think the brother passed or something. I don't recall. It was someone close to him. I don't want to even put that in the atmosphere like that. But damn, I kind of remember something. Help me out here if somebody know what I'm talking about, or correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't know. I think I kind of recall that, man. Yeah, man, that was a good interview. And then shout out to Kev Mack, man. I met the brother, man, and I thought, brother's a solid cat. I have no ill will against him, nothing bad to say about him for sure. Nothing bad to say about the brother. He does his thing, and he does his thing. One thing about it, you don't see him in this mess. He sticks straight to the format that he came out with. The historical aspect of, just games, individuals from them. Nothing messy about it. He just, allow cats to, split their history in the way they do it, the way he do it is well put together. So you have to, tip your hat to him, give him his medals for that, man. That's a good look, man, in terms of how he goes about doing shit. Okay, so Julius Rollinger said, "You right about that." Okay, and I imagine what we were talking about. And Raymond Scosa, I enjoyed all the interviews from the brothers and painted the history which we came from. Also, the OGs were actually friends before all of the divisions, and the interviews were all respectful. And that, again, going into this situation, especially for the old heads from the G's from over here from Hoover, my first thing I wanted to impart to us, man, we're not doing none of that here, and it wasn't no surprise to me for them to say, man, I wouldn't know do that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, shit, man, so and so, them my bros, I said less. I didn't have to say nothing, Like I think I had maybe one dude, maybe one, man, G head, and I had to like, hey man, check us out. We're not doing that, in the middle of the interview. Like, hey man, you're not doing that here, And I got that respect, But he sure tried it. He was turned up too. But that being said, yeah, man, a lot of them brothers came up together. A lot of them brothers came up together. And you got to understand as well, before there was Hoover, there were other sets, and a lot of these cats, a lot of Hoovers was from some everywhere, and that was the beauty about Hoover. I think it was that it comprised of brothers from everywhere, not just off Hoover Street. Brothers was coming from Compton and Watts, East Side, West Side. Hey man, that's what it was. You know what I mean? And I think that that composition, it just showed the best of the best. You know what I mean? From everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's to say, man, hey man, brothers from everywhere stumped down. They stumped down brothers from everywhere. And I hate that we just don't accept that now. We got stumped down brothers from everywhere, man. Highly respected brothers, man. Solid dudes, and all of them ain't old heads. You know what I mean? Some of my age, some are younger than me. You know what I mean? So that's the thing we're missing, man. And again, going back to what I was saying, a lot of them brothers came up knowing each other. A lot of us grew up knowing each other. I don't know if that's the same for, these guys today. I don't know that. I would suspect that maybe, there's, an acquaintance, you know what I mean? It's just, they had to go back from elementary or whatever, but just imagine, man, that brothers accept the fact that brothers from everywhere, you got stumped down cats from everywhere, man. A lot of shit had changed, and especially with this generation, man. Especially. But anyway, I appreciate that, Mr. Rollinger, Mr. Julius. I'm gonna stick a boy. That's a tongue twist almost. Yeah, you ain't lying though, Roscoe, man. The interviews, man, and that was the intent. That the whole, not the intent, but that was by design. It had to be that way. It had to be that way. That's what I pressed, and I didn't press it, but that's what I conveyed to those G's who came. Hey, man, it got to be this way. And again, man, I wasn't surprised when they said, "Motherfucker, you preach to the choir." young motherfucker, shut up. Man, we know what to do. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. Julius says, it seems like in the 70s, everyone was together and loved each other. And it was more heroes back then, like a big dog, right? From everywhere, again, from everywhere, I recall growing up, man, being at Real Rogers Park, all the black events, man, and man, everybody was there. I just recall that shit, man. Going up to Sportsman's Park, man, Central Element, going all over, man, just all over. And it wasn't no issue, you know what I mean? It wasn't no issue. Things did change, eventually, man, and sad that they did. But just like you, man, I meant that the 70s was the shit. The 70s was the shit, man. 70s was the shit, man. I get kind of nostalgic. I want to bring that time back. I want to, bring the 70s back, man. Let's start over, man. Let's do it, but mulligan. Let's do a rewind, a do-over. Yeah, appreciate that comment, Julius. Raymond Scott said, yeah, Hawk passed away not long ago, man. I thought I heard that right, man. In fact, I did. If I look through my phone, I know I got a text from somebody saying that. And the coldest part about it, because a lot of brothers, I don't care where they from, especially when they're stumped down dudes, man. I would love to pay my respects. I think what stopped me from going there, because a lot of the loved ones went, was the fact that I couldn't get off work that day. I recall that, and I because of work, I've missed, a lot of passings, individuals from all over, yeah, man. Another brother, man. At least he got his story out, I see that also as a thing where a lot of brothers who have an opportunity to tell their stories, to convey messages in how they live, share their experiences so that others can get an understanding of what's really at stake, man. A lot of these brothers leave us, man, and they leave us with their story. Now, and it's the individual's right to want to tell it or not, But I often think that, dang, man, and we got them. We got stumped downs from everywhere, man. Imagine if one of the stumped downs from wherever passed away, and this dude was a really just reputable, man, and we had him. A year or two later, man, somebody outside of that community decides, and somebody ethnically different decides they want to do a piece on them. Who's to stop them? Who's to stop them individuals, from doing that? And that's been something, a worry of mine, especially when it comes to the community, and I've said this to certain loved ones. I mean, it's just, for me, it's the fear that them people, man, and this is what they do, man. They tell our stories, and they tend to think that they tell them better than we do. They'll go and get the rights to our shit. They don't check in and tap in with the families, man. The families don't get nothing. I know for a fact, though, they just did Raymond Washington's movie, and it had the family involved. You know what I mean? It's a good look, man. You know, but see, we run the risk when we decide not to share our experiences, our history, our story with our brothers and sisters. We run the risk of someone else outside of our community coming and, you know, reaping the benefits of that story. And I'm telling you, most of them are very powerful stories. You know, very powerful stories. You know, damn, just made me think about Monster, man. And it made me think about Cody, man, and you know what that looked like. You know, being that he was an author as well, you know, very reputable brother. You know, been gone a few years now. You know, you wonder, you know, who's digging or delving into his history and sitting back saying that we can make this movie. You know, this dude was very reputable in the game culture. This movie would sell. You know, think about that, man. Yeah, yeah. Something else, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, Julius. Yeah, Roscoe said, Raymond Scott said he did pass. He did pass away and wasn't too long ago, man. Again, man, our condolences, man, to Hulk, man. 107, man. Was it 107 Underground? Or was it Block? 107 Underground, I think, man. Our condolences to him and his family, bro. You know, for the loss. And again, I just think about homies, man, that left us. And some of which I had the okay to, you know, go. I had the thumbs up, go do the interview, man, and just I don't know. Yeah. All right, Anthony Dibbs. I see you, my brother. How you been, man? Good to see you up in here with us tonight. All right. B1, everybody. So in case you know there are those of you watching, not in the, you know, the Royal Group Congregation chat, man. This is Under the Groove Podcast, and we are touching bases with the people. You're more than welcome to jump in here, man. But this is where we exercise and we push B1. B1 equals Black first. But you know, also we focus on the focus. Our conversations are above board and respectful. It ain't about no dissing, no brothers, no sisters. It ain't about what you normally would see on social media. We just don't do that. We think that there's a greater purpose, man, for these type of apparatuses, these formats. You know, we can use these way more. We can use them better, or you know, more towards our benefit than, you know, our destruction. You know, so you're more than welcome to be here. And while I'm saying this, for you who are coming in right now, man, please like, share, comment, follow, and subscribe to Undergroove Podcast if you see fit. All right. Everything here, like I said, is above board. All right. We keep it straight and solid here. You know, we solid as heck up in here. Also, there's another channel we would like support for, and that is the Art of Political Discourse. Please like, share, comment, follow, and subscribe to that channel as well. Your participation will be greatly appreciated. All right. But yeah, there you go, man. All right. I see you up in there, Jay Stone. How you doing, bro? Yeah, man. Working on this get out, man. Yeah. But you getting a year older, huh? Look at you, man. Looking good, man. Them gators, man. And well, you know how to dress, you know. I think that's a good sign signal, man, for individuals, man, who've grown up, man. You're not necessarily overly concerned with how we look, but we make sure we right. You know what I mean? You know, it shows, man. You know, it shows, man. So proud, you know, to see you, man, just doing how you do. Stay you, man. Stay you. B60M, what it do, bro? See you up in here. Say greetings to you, Bub, and the RGC B1. That's right. Appreciate your presence, bro. Grand Rising, everybody. Hey, just again, right quick. Have appreciation for the fact that you're here right now. You know, that's it. You know, it's through small blessings we tend to not see or focus on. But when we're focused on the focus, you know, it's one of the first things, man, we acknowledge that we're here, you know, and that means something. And that's the one blessing that a lot of us take advantage of, that we don't recognize and, you know, give homage to. And we do that by how we live our lives. You know what I mean? Our lives should be lived in such a way we showing that we appreciate the fact that we got up, that we were 10 toes down, and we made it through this day, man. So, all right, take that with you, y'all. That's some real shit right there. Anyway, yeah, BM, good to see you. B60M, good to see you, bro. Benjamin Vaughn said ain't nothing smoother than a Hoover. But they come smooth in all shapes, forms, fashions, man, and colors. Talking about our communities, you know what I mean? And this is what we're talking about earlier in terms of our brothers and sisters from everywhere, man. All of them had style, you know. Um, they all brought something to the table, you know. That's what make this thing good. That's what make us special, man. Yeah, everybody had their way, how they went about things, man. And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of times, man, we tend to overlook, the contributions, just period, of brothers and sisters. And I'm not speaking in terms of this gang culture, because that's something we don't want to applaud. We don't want to glorify gang culture, but we have to recognize that in it, or from it, what came from it, who came from it. We had some stumped down individuals, man. And believe it or not, a lot of these brothers and sisters, man, they had integrity. They were principled, you know what I'm saying, in spite of the fact they were part of, what society calls, a disruptive group of individuals. These brothers and sisters, man, they carried themselves a certain way, man. And they did that, man, in your presence or out of your presence. You know what I mean? That's just what their makeup was. That's how they were built, So that should go to everybody, you know what I mean? Straight up, man. But appreciate you in these get outs though, Benjamin. Appreciate you. Julia says in OG Bam from Compton loves y'all, man. That's my guy, man. And Bam, if you're listening, man, my apologies. I ain't called you, man. I've been super busy. I'll tell you about it, man, when I see you, brother. I hung out with Bam, man, a couple of weeks ago, man, at a comedy club, man. We had a good time, man, and we talked, man. And actually, the atmosphere was straight, you know what I mean? And that's the way it should be, But Bam is one of them G homies, man, from Compton. Love and respect, nothing but love and respect for Bam, man. Like I was on the yard with him. Yeah, I picked up a lot from Bam, truth to power, man. So then this is why I respect him the way I do, So Bam, hope that you're well, bro. Continue to focus on the focus. Get it done, my brother. Get it done. Yeah, man. Oh, Bam. Raymond Skull said, Bub, do you have the movie Colors intensified the game? Bub, do you the movie Colors intensify game mentality? Or do I think? Yeah, in a lot of ways, man. Just think about it. Most of the movies that are like that, Colors, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, them type of movies, actually, man. And well, Baby Boy, even, I think the movies, they contribute to, the unraveling of, our communities. I think they played, a role, not necessarily major, but, a minor role in, the unraveling of the fabric of the community, man. So Colors was I think the first movie, but in terms of gang culture, it was actually Warriors, but that was situated in New York. And the gang culture was totally different back then, as New York as opposed to LA. The Warriors came out in the 70s. That was a 1970 movie right there. Colors was 80. What? Somebody help me on this. 84, maybe 83, 84, maybe 85. I don't know. And then there was also the movie South Central. Again, just in my opinion, movies like that didn't help, the community. You know what I mean? Movies like that, even though some of them had a message, some had a message, they still did more. Just my opinion, man, more damage than good, to the community, more damage than good to the community. But I think that, yeah, as a result of those type of movies, man, the situation got worse. It was almost like, yeah, for real, they were glorifying it. They were putting the idea of Uzis in the minds of the youth, man. The drug ain't gonna help us do this, do that, make us better, stronger, whatever. Red and blue, you know what I mean? And who you down with, and it gave, a lot of our brothers and sisters this impression that, to be super hard, you had this bravado about you, man, was okay. That's what I think. That go for all of the movies. Also, some of them showed innocence lost, not just in terms of, how the mind end up gravitating towards, all that is negative about the gang culture, but the lives lost physically, as a result of this culture, you know what I'm saying? And some of the movies portrayed those losses, brothers, innocent brothers not being involved in this, man. A whole lot of our brothers, man, are gone as a result of this culture. Again, man, I don't think the movie was any help to our community. It's just me. I'll say that 100 times. I don't think the movies helped our community. The movies, again, man, just depicting more than negative, so yeah, messed our minds up. Julia says, I think you're right about colors. Appreciate that. Yeah. Raymond Scott said, Monster Cody book was so gripping that each page I felt like I was there seeing what he spoke on. Yeah, man, that was homie. Yeah, I read the book, man. And back then, and let me be just frank, man, certain parts of the book he was talking about, the set and everything. I'm like, oh man, that's a lie, man. Nah. I wasn't there. I was back in YA when one of the issues that supposedly happened on 81st. And I heard about it. I was like, yeah, all right, boom. But the book, like you said, was one of them books, what we call a page turner. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to put this book down until you get to the end of it. And then you might want to say, let me go back to chapter, whatever, But I think what kind of made Marshall's book okay was the fact that if you read back and you think back in the book, he got to talking, or was it the second book? He got to talking about positivity. The people, the people, man, the first book sold because of, just like the movie, what was in it. It was fallacious, it talked about the destruction of each other, our people, man, just being a part of the gang culture. I think that book, in its way, like the movies, man, weren't helpful necessarily. The stories could have been very well true. Stories are true, as far as I know, some of them, but on a whole, in terms of the book dropping, and then those of us who gravitated to the book and really saw the book as a platform, to get involved in that lifestyle, man, I don't know if that was a good thing, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but again, like I say, man, I've done time with him, and when he first told me about the New African Republic, I think it was, we were in Soledad, and I looked at him like, basically like, you all right, it's the homie, I went through TS with him, prison, county jail, all that. You all right? 4800, just Chino, shit, man, Wayside, just but I think what convinced me, it wasn't what he was talking about, what I mean? It was his demeanor, why he talked about it, and after he was done talking, what I mean? He carried himself with a certain dignity, Now that it can be said that he did that anyway, because type of brother he was, but this was different. The field was different. He really trusted in where his mind was going in terms of the people. And again, for me, man, if someone asks me who are our best warriors, who are our best soldiers, who could grow into our best warriors, are those individuals from the streets, man. That's just me. I'll take a brother from the streets, man, any day, to go combat with. You know what I mean? It's especially one, that's, been there, man. But he had a different feel, man, to him when we ran into each other again in Soledad. And I'm telling you, it didn't stop me from interacting with him. We meet up at the bleachers, man. Chop it up, man, about this, that, and the third, man. Baby brother, rest in peace, from Harlem was there. We chill, we kick it. We kick it like a big dog, OG Gooch was there, shoot, and everybody did their own thing, But yeah, his change, I saw it then, and he was talking very, very political. And again, it like took me aback, like, the hell, but and in fact, it got me to reading more political literature, more literature from our people. This was a 1988, 89, yeah, yeah, So when he pulled up on the yard, I think I was already there. Pulled up, so again, I grew up with him, so. But and now I'm thinking, should they do a movie? I hope that his family has some input, some say in how they write the script and direct the movie. Doing justice, man. In spite of how he left us, what I'm saying, doing justice. He was one of ours that was able, and I mean ours as a whole, us as a people. He belonged to all of us. You know what I mean? He moved the crowd. And look at his interviews from Kev Mack and others, man, and how he articulated stuff, especially when he was just talking about the people and the need for transformation in these communities or with our people, man. You got to salute him for that. Give him his medals, man. We don't have brothers doing that, And again, in spite of what his issues were, him, the man, I just think, he had a lot to impart to us. So rest in peace to Monster Kody, man, for sure. Yeah, I dig it though, Raymond Skull, man. That book, it was a page turner for sure. Hated Saints said, B1 to my days are done. All right, what you know about the B1, man? All right. Hated Saints, man, this is Under the Groove Podcast, and you are touching bases with the people. For those of you who don't know, we would like for you guys to like, share, comment, follow, and subscribe to this podcast if you see fit. We don't twist arms here. Your support, your participation means a lot to us. All right. We come here to do this with the people and for the people. One thing we got certain, a certain script we stick to, man. First and foremost, we're about respect. We're about love and unity. Don't matter where you're from. In fact, most of the time, we don't even ask where you're from. We don't ask where you're from. Don't matter. B1 means black first. Now, where you from first, and none of that other stuff, man. We don't care about that. That's one thing. Another thing, man, for you who don't know, don't send no money to this get down. I don't care if it's $1. If it's 10, don't send it. Keep it. This ain't that, man. And I mean that. I've been meaning that for 2 years. There are other ways for the people to support, those people those of us who want to do something positivity or positive for the get out. And one is the fact that you're here right now. All right. You're here right now. The hope is that more comes, you know what I mean? And when that happens, YouTube, we're going to break their bank. We're going to have our hand in their pockets. You know what I mean? That's how that should go. The people should not do this. You know what I mean? Whether we talking good shit or bad shit, You know, I don't think the people should who do this, who or content creators or whatever, should go to the people and say, give me some money. Or here's my PayPal. Here's my Venmo. You know, I'm gonna charge you $5-10 for membership to talk about some BS that's gonna do what for you. You know, so no, we don't do that here, man. But you're more than welcome to be here. And like I said, man, this is where we focus on the focus. B1, black first. All right. We get down with the get down like that right here. Everything's above board. Man, peace and blessings to all you who are coming in, man. Appreciate your presence. All right. Jump in. Jump in. Yeah. Jay Stone said, man, we got to keep going till it gets done. And hey, man, let's all be frank. Let's again, we tend to speak truth to power. We don't water nothing down, man. Look, this gonna be a hard fight. It's a hard fight. You know what I mean? And it may not get done until some of us are already gone, you know. But hey, that shouldn't stop us, man. It's worth doing, you know. This get down, man, in terms of the people seeing the light, the people coming together, the people loving one another, respecting each other, man, the people unifying. Man, shit, whether we hear it or not, we hope that it gets done. You know, so we have to apply ourselves. Let's put forth some effort, man. You know, let's contribute to this get down. You know, let's do that. All right. Appreciate you, Jay Stone. All love, bro. Julie said Colors in South Central was big. Yeah, and again, if you think about those movies, man, and what they brought to the table, the movies were big, man. But again, man, let's be real. How did they help the community? You know, I recall. This ain't no BS, man. I used to go. I was in Mississippi, and you know, they were just infatuated with LA down there, just straight up, man. You know, it was a different look for them, for Cali brothers, Los Angeles brothers to come to Mississippi. And I recall getting there, man, and there was this brother. He had him and his woman. They had that red car with the tinted windows. And I don't know why he said it. You know, I'm at the corner store, man, getting some out of the store, you know, and the come out and pull up. Hi, hey, Big Black, what's going on? He said, yeah, man, this boys in the hood car the shit, ain't it? And I thought about like, y'all stupid motherfucker down here, man. Everyone care about that shit, you know. I think that was a Hyundai when they first came out or something like that. But yeah, you know, that's the impression a lot of these movies did, not just to us here in California. You know what I mean? But nationwide, man. Shit, actually probably worldwide. It set precedents, you know, they set examples, man, that really, man, you know, we haven't been able to shoulder, man. You know, it's the wrong shit, man. It's the wrong shit. You know? I don't know, man. Wrong shit. Makes me think about John Singleton, man. If he'd been alive, what would he have put out for us with his mindset, his direction in terms of making movies? Would it have changed to something more positive, something that uplifts, you know, the black man and woman, you know, from the shit we in, you know what I mean? Would he have told a different story? And it could have been that same story coming from where we come from, you know what I mean? But champion the drive and the fight, you know, to get up out of it, you know what I'm saying? To, you know, extract ourselves, not necessarily from the community, but from the BS that's in the community. Go somewhere, do something, then come back, man. You know, a movie like that, man, I don't know, man. I can't think of one off the top of my head where there's a movie that exemplifies that. I don't know of one I can think about right now. And if one exists, somebody, y'all know how we do. RGC, man, help me out with this, man. If it's a movie like that, drop it up in there, man, so I can talk about it. You know, well, most of the movies, y'all, about our communities are those types of movies. Come on, just think about it. All the ones we like too, and not all the ones that were just based in LA. You know, New Jack City, all the we go on and on to the break of dawn, man. You know, that's what it's been. That's what it's been, man. And it's time that we get something different. It's something different is set before us, is put on the table for us to appreciate, you know. Yeah. Okay, Quinn and Zinga said Colors came out in 88. Oh shit. Really? All right. Julius says South Central did. South Central did what, Julius? Raymond Skull said Big Tookie's book, Blue Rage Black Redemption, was another great book. I agree wholeheartedly. In his book, he illustrated redemption. In fact, I felt his redemption through each page I turned in the second half of the book. Good book. I agree. And I was remiss for not, thinking about it, but great book. Great book. I did read that book. In fact, me and Hoover Joe talked about the book. We had went through, he had his book, I had mine. We went through it, and because we were trying to find passages in there where he spoke about Hoover Joe. Again, but just I had to agree with you, Remus, on that. The second half of the book was really, an eye opener. And it hurt when they, murder bro. Especially after, this reformation, this metamorphosis, man. And I trusted that it was real. I trusted that it was real, man. Cool thing. Okay, Julia said, don't y'all have a GoFundMe for Hoover Joe? And yeah, that does exist for Hoover Joe, but that has nothing to do with me and this podcast. That is set up in such a way it don't come here. It's linked to whatever it's linked to, and we just keep it going for Joe. And his legal help. As far as I go, this podcast goes, there's nothing that we seek from the people other than you guys' viewership and support in terms of tapping in with this channel. That's it. We don't ask nobody for nothing, man. Quite as it kept, I made it an exception to help Joe because I understood how dire his situation is. A double life without plus 50. On some stuff, man, that if he wasn't who he was, not only would he have a shorter sentence, I'm willing to wager he would probably beat the case, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so that exists though, Julius, for Joe. That exists for Joe, man. And it's rigged, like I said, set up to where it goes to his son. They monitor and deal with that how they see fit. You know what I mean? I have nothing to do with it other than bringing it here, in hopes that, he gets the support financially he needs to fight, for his freedom, Yeah. Let me see. Anthony Tibbs said, blessing, brothers and sisters. What to do, Anthony, man? You did second time, man. How you feeling? All right. William Dre said, minding my business, stand in the word. I don't have nothing against that, bro. I've said this time and again. I think that that book, most of the scriptures there are for learning purposes. I think some of them scriptures can help guide people morally, you know what I mean? In terms of principles and integrity, that's what I appreciate about the book, man. But yeah, man, to each his own, brother. If that thing is helping you to stay focused on the focus, by all means. And that go for anybody, man. Again, focused on the focus. You have to understand what that means, and it must be something that's in here that you laser sharp. You're focused, laser sharp on those things, those focuses you need to have to get it done, man. So by all means, man, do your thing, brother. Do your thing. William Dre. All right. And hey, again, man, welcome, brother. This is Under the Groove Podcast. and you are touching bases with the people with your comment. We appreciate it. All right. Raymond Scott said, Bub, does Hoover Joe have action at Freedom? Um, yeah, but for most of us who's been in that situation, we know, man, how hard it is to get back in the courts, because um you can have all the reason in the world, especially in terms of law, what's accepted, what's not, to get back, to get out. The issue is, in Raymond Scroll, you know this like most brothers who've been through this shit, the issue is getting in the courts or getting back in the courts or whatever the case may be. That's always been the issue. You know, I think that if anyone can get back in the courts, there's action at Freedom. You know, that's what I think, you know. But again, the issue is getting back in court or getting um those district judges or whoever, man, to look at your stuff and take it seriously. You know, what some of the problems are with a lot of brothers who are trying to get in there, their paperwork is tight, you know, all the T's across, I's dotted. It's the individual who's presenting, you know, this piece of work, you know, this legal document, you know what I mean, that they're looking at. They're not looking at the legality of what's before them. They're looking at the name on it. So they'll get on their laptops, man, and this is what we know. And they'll go pull you up. And if they are disgusted by how you lived your life, they'll, you know, throw that over to the side. And that'd be the clerks, who do that. They'll be the ones mainly, you know, because they got to go through them first. The clerks are the ones that, you know, present this shit to the judges, you know. But just imagine, man, someone tapping in your name and they see, you know, whatever it is that you're in there for, what your history was, and them, you know, having this feeling of disdain and deciding right then and there, you don't deserve to be back up in these courts. So we're going to lose that transcript, that legal document. We're going to dispose of it somehow, some way. We're going to put it in the basement under a box of crates, you know, and maybe in 10 years, somebody, you know, but shit, ain't no telling, you know, in 10 years, you know what I mean, what can transpire. I got a loved one in there now. Man, the fight that he has to be ready for every time he prepares a legal document, just on the basis of what law is, shit tight. He has the hardest time getting in the courts. He has the hardest time, and then couple that with the fact that they know his name. He done sued, you know, the CDC so many times, CDCR so many times. They can't stand him. And we think this is one of the reasons why he's having such a difficult time of getting out. Been there 32 years. You know, his crime is already out. His crime been out half that time. All right. But that's what it is, man. So whether or not you have freedom of action is one thing. Is the fact of the matter is that I think part of that is the name on that transcript, on that legal document. I think that carries a lot of weight. It goes a long way, especially with these court clerks and these judges. You know, it's just my take on that, man. A lot of brothers, man, they send their stuff out through legal mail. It never gets there. The CO might not want to see you get action and getting out. You know, might not want to give you your legal mail. You know, that's just, you know, that's what a lot of them brothers go through. But let Joe tell it, and we've talked about this before. Yeah, he has action. Just got to get in the courts, man. You know, got to get in the courts, man. But again, you know, before you go in, you want to make sure everything right. You know, some people will help, some won't. You know, so yeah, man. Yeah. Rakufu. All right, you say good night, bub. I'm sleepy. Talk to you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, brother. Yeah, take care, man. You know, a healthy body, man, a healthy mind, man, well-rested mind, man, is always a good look. All right. Prioritize your life, people. Prioritize your life. Trust. We'll catch you tomorrow, loved one. No reparations, no vote. All right, that's a new one. Appreciate seeing that. No reparations, no vote. Hey, man, that's something to stand on. Let it be known. But especially we tell it to those of ours who are in, public office. We tell them in a minute, hey, man, if you're not pushing this man on the floor, man, reparations, hey, man, we not pushing to vote for you. In fact, we will get you out of that seat. That's something worth, hey, I like that one. That's a t-shirt. Shoot. No reparations, no vote. I like that. All right, man. B1, y'all. I like that shit. Come on now. Raymond Skull said, man, I agree with what you're saying. I think that's why Tookie's case wasn't a favorable outcome. The judges, the system judges us based on how they see us. Period, point blank, homie. And then don't let your victims be clear. Be clear, people, That ain't gonna help. That ain't gonna help at all. But no doubt, I think that plays a role in how brothers are able to not just fight the case initially, man, but to fight the case on appeal and things of that nature, man. There's always an uphill battle, man, with brothers, man, in that situation. Anthony Tibbs said, man, everything groovy, bub. That OT at the gig have been having me tied up, man. Hey, man, you know what? You're getting it right. That OT matter, huh? That OT make that thing right. It make that check a little heftier, a little heavier. It goes a little longer, Don't fight it. Don't fight it, man. Invite that OT, man. That OT help you get shit done, bro. All right? And when you're able to come up in here, man, we going to be here. That's fact. We going to be here, man. We going to be here. So you get that shit done, brother. Don't worry about nothing else. I'm pretty sure, man, you got kids to feed. You got responsibilities. Welcome that OT, man. Get it in, man. And when you're done, man, go rest. You can watch this, man. This thing will be on recording 30 minutes after we shut it down. You wake up in the morning, wherever you're doing, you got time to do it. You want to do it then, it'll be there. We love it, though, when you in, you right cool for all the brothers. We in here, we chopping it up. Yeah, we get that. That's a good look. But come on, man, handle it. Don't worry about it. Yep. Do that OT, man. Raymond Scott, man, Bub, what's your take on Karen Bass? Just another, well, she's not a looker. She's not pretty. I don't think the sister's ugly, but, Jasmine Crockett is just a pretty face. Don't really mean it's not a bit of good. Karen Bass is just as bad. She's not as, but she don't mean that's a damn bit of good. There it is. What's your take on her? I don't see her. See, here's the thing, and I'm telling y'all, man, this is some real spit, man, about our people in politics. They're scared to do for us. They're scared, or they've been warned or told not to do for us. See, because to do for us means then do you have our best interest at heart, in mind? You know what I mean? And that's not the way that you're not supposed to be up in there for that. Obama told us this. You know what I mean? Obama showed that. That lady that was calling herself one of us, I forget the lady name, man. The head is empty as a hollowed out coconut. I forget that lady name, man. Anyway, Kamala. Did an interview. It went around talking about she one of us, right? But was asked point blank, what are you going to do for black people? She said nothing. They ain't even ask Obama. He just didn't do shit. Karen Bass, she's no different, man. She's no different. She can't do nothing for us. She can't do nothing for us because here's the truth. Most of who voted for her wasn't us. That's not to say we didn't vote for her. But let's just take into consideration who her base really is. Look at what she does and how she go about doing it. And that's not to say also that she don't make appearances, that she don't throw something here and there to the people. That she don't make it look good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, man, most of our politicians, the majority of our politicians, when they get into office, man, they cannot do all that they promised they would do or that they would like to do for us, because that would be a career suicide, just straight up, man. That's just how I see that, bro. Anthony Tibbs said, man, glad to be up in here with the good, great people. Appreciate that, bro. Good to have you here. All right, Rakufu. Hey, man, sound sleep, man. Peaceful sleep, man. Graham Rising is waiting on you, man, on tomorrow. All right? Take care, bro. Peace and blessings. I like this. No reparations, no vote. This shit is hard. I like it. He said, no reparations, no vote, says they are pulling the rope in the wrong direction. Hey, you're going to say Karen Bass, rainbow side of the game. All right. Y'all got listen, man. It just is what it is, and it ain't hard to see. I don't think it's difficult to see. Especially again, man, in terms of what's being done for the people. We've been here, we've been here. You know what I mean? I think the only way to describe is that, a lot of our people, when they're again in public office, politics, especially, they know what side their bread is buttered on. That's the only way for me to describe that, It's sad that, it's like that. I'm sure a lot of brothers would speak up for her. I'm sure of that. They have their reasons, Again, I don't it's here it is. I don't think she does enough. That's what I think. I don't think she does enough. I think that she has an interest in nonprofits, especially those nonprofits that deal with intervention, things like that, grid programs, safe passage. There's a reason she does that. All right. But beyond that, I don't think she does enough. I don't think she does enough in that respect. I just don't. But that's me. This is me. And again, if it's anyone in here, y'all know how we get down. Speak truth to power. If I need to be corrected, set straight, man, I'll take that. It's just what it is. But no reparations, no vote. I hear you loud and clear. I agree. I agree. I agree. About to say something I had no business saying, so I won't say it, but I agree. All right, Antonio Anthony, all love and salute right back to you, bro. Raymond Scott said, man, I think Karen Bass is for the system, the powers that be. I've seen her blatantly ignore blacks asking her questions about us because it's not in her interest. It's not in her interest. And in fact, the Democratic Party look at us like a waning voting block, almost like dinosaurs, almost like our vote don't count unless it's in mass. You know what I mean? Just on the face or basis of LA, for instance, she might be like, oh, no, so let me focus on this voting block, So I don't disagree with you on that one. Yeah. I don't disagree, bro. Raymond Scott also said none of these black politicians are going to ever put themselves on the front line for our causes. All right. If they do begin to show signs of radicalism, they know the consequences. Well, they're going to be reminded. I think they're reminded all the time. I that's just what I think, man. Again, when we were talking about earlier, about how athletes have handlers. Athletes have certain people around them to keep them in line. Trust and know that. All right. entertainers too. You know, some of their assistants and whoever they got around them that ain't them, a part of them. And most of them don't have them types around them. You know what I mean? It's always mostly clear, individuals, around these people, man. I think the same goes for politics. The aides that around them, some of them ain't really aides. They keep certain people around them, to keep them grounded in terms of how they want them to be grounded. There's nowhere in the world, man, that she would be able to do anything of substance for us and not be in jeopardy. Real spit. Tom Bradley too wasn't no different. No different, man. Could nobody say, man. And like I say, man, I know individuals who actually rub elbows with her, and let them tell it. She comes when they call. That may be so, but that's you. What are her actions in regards to us as a whole? How is what she does or any of what she is doing serving us? I would like to see the evidence that she actually is doing something for us and not just Angelinos. I'm just saying, man. What type of programs or she working towards getting the people ready, us, for, let's say, for instance, the Olympics? How is she helping to anyone become entrepreneurs, or in franchise and all that money that's going to come down here in the next year and a half? What is she putting before the people that's going to help us, the people, gain some financial stability? I don't know. Is she willing to push anything regarding or concerning reparations for, Black American Californians? These type of issues, man. I think not. I think not. So, Antonio Anthony said, man, I ain't going nowhere, G. You don't gotta shout me out. I'm here to stay. Man, look, I hear you loud and clear. I'm gonna move on. All love, bro. All right, Raymond, man, he said, man, it's about the haves versus the have-nots. I would call it classism. That's one way to put it. That's one way to put it. And if that's the case, then she's not for us. She don't work for us. It's those in power whose back she got, That's just the way that got to go. That's just the way that got to go. You're going to say, so if athletes and others who have handlers, so if athletes or others who have handlers and they begin to challenge that, then that's when they'll be reminded of their place. This is our people. This is our people. Where we come from, got to get in politics. And we've said this before, Williams Go, instead of brothers, a lot of these platforms, these channels, man, I tell you, man, they just dispense all negativity. Ain't none of these brothers telling these youngsters, man, go to school, man, get an education, man, learn how the system work, man, because we're going to need y'all up in there in 7 years. We don't hear this, man. We don't hear this. That these young brothers, man, can be politicians. They can be up in there, man, but be up in there, man, in a whole different way, representing it, man, for real. But we don't get that from those who have influence, who have channels or platforms, man, where they can help push brothers and sisters in the direction that our young brothers and sisters need to be going. We see what they push. So then that means these young brothers and sisters also will be left out of, not just the system, but how it works. They won't be able to get involved in order, they won't be able to get in there and attempt to change it. Won't get nowhere near it, man. Look at what they're being fed. you know, and then those brothers and sisters who are intelligent and got their shit together and, you know, want to be something like they're being recruited by others that don't even come from here. You know, they'll be working for, super corporations or the government, you know. So again, there we lost our people. We lost or we're losing, our young ones, man, our potential, man, for, not just survival, but the potential for us to, elevate. It's being taken away from us, man, just right before our eyes. And we got a lot of people. We have a lot of people who are saboteurs, who are sabotaging our children's future or the future of the people, man. And they're doing that by way of how they getting down, And again, man, a lot of them, it is what it is. But yeah, man, we supposed to have buku youngsters up in there, man. That graduating class 2 years ago. The graduating class, you know what I mean? They're getting ready for politics, political science. They're up in here, man, because they want to do, but yeah, it's sad, man. Make me think, no, I ain't gonna lie. Damn, man, if I had just, I just didn't know any better at the time, bro. Shit. Wish I would have. Yeah, man. So there that is, and that's just a reality, bro. Most of what we need our young brothers and sisters, man, to be aware of, to learn to pick up, man, to master. Nowhere in sight for them, Most of what they see before them is trash, man, just garbage stuff, and then again, there are those who have ambition, who have goals, but shit, man, they'll never come back home. Their greatest desire is to get the hell away from here, man. That's sad. It's sad because it says a lot about everybody that came before them. We ain't leave nothing for them to come back to. Shit. We did them a disservice. But yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to have some stumped down young brothers and sisters, man, up in there, man, and with the business. Some Shirley Chisholm types, you know what I'm saying? Some real stumped down. I'm trying to think in my head who's a stumped down black brother politician. And it just didn't have to be in in the city or state level, just, nationally. Shoot, man. There's a lot, man, to do. There's a lot to be done, Huge fight, man. Uphill battle. Huge, I tell y'all, man. Just it's shit. I don't know what to do. Oh, we gotta. For those of us down this way, I was hoping we can establish a get down, man, in the coming days, before this week is up, before Sunday. We sit down, man, and chop it up, man. Break bread, man, somewhere, man. That's a central spot for everybody who can make their way, to the gathering, just the seat and the breaking bread, man. That'd be a good look, man. If anybody's in here and they recognizing what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, man. Put something in the RGC chat, man. Let's see if we can't work out something. We have 5 more days actually before the week is out. And let's see if we can come up with something, man. A nice place, like I said, that's centralized where nobody's coming way out their way, and it's almost like an even distance. And we sit down and have a good time, man. Chop it up, man. Talk about, the RGC, man. Touching bases with the people and what it has done so far, in terms of how you look at things or how you go about, your day. That'd be a good conversation. And we more than likely, we would like to record it as well. Hopefully that'll be something that if we do this thing, that the proprietors of the place will allow us to do that, But yeah, y'all think about that for those of you who are in LA, be a good thing, man. Be a good thing. That'd be something, I'm telling you. Yeah, man, we got a lot of work to do, man, and it's okay, man. It's gonna get done. I'm not in doubt, you know. But I have to admit, sometime in it'd be just discouraging as all get out, man. Like for real, man. What the hell? What the hell? You know. Oh, I'm sitting there. I just had a thought, man. I gotta take care of something, man. One of the brothers, man. All right, Anthony Tibbs said, man, remember in which way is up how Richard Pryor seen that ring on that white man. That's exactly how those people in position are. Yeah. Like, ooh, yeah. You bring back, yeah, which way is up? We didn't watch that one either this weekend or last weekend. Now you give me ideas. Go and just check that out. I swear to you tonight, I'm gonna watch it. Oh, yeah, man. And that's what I think that's the problem, man. And you know what? Here's the sad part, man. That's just not that's in all walks of life in terms of positions and stuff or what we do to make a living. We got brothers, man, on in social media, that's all they see. And each one is trying to get a bigger chain than another, a bigger ring than another. And then we got politicians, they see it and they go, ooh, I gotta get that. How can I get that? I want to be a part of that, not realizing, man, but that these desires, these wants that they're, putting out there for themselves or putting in front of the people, man, is, it hurts the people. And, really don't do them no good. It's just a thing, what's lasting, what's going to last longer, a piece of jewelry, man, lose some dollars, man, or how we set our people up in terms of, the future, how we impart to them something, that is lasting, and it is such, or it's looked at like that and lived like that because this is what's being passed down. That's another thing about us. We've lost connection. We've lost the connection. And if any of y'all can recall, everything we knew, especially when we're in the house and the family, was passed down. What's passed down anymore? I read saw some the other day. They don't even like passing down recipes no more. Imagine that. Recipes from your great grandmother or your great grandmother, your grandmother. They don't pass nothing down no more. We don't pass anything down anymore, man. But especially knowledge, we don't lace, we don't lace each other no more, man. That's part of the problem. And so as a result, I think we tend to go for anything, man. We tend to put value and wealth on shit, man. It ain't really got no value and wealth to it at all. Sad thing, man, but it is what it is. We ain't gonna be mad about it. We just got to figure out a way to work through it. Work through it, work around it, work over it, work under it. I think that's gonna be the get down. That has to be the get down. We got to be willing, man, to put the work in, man. Bring back some shit, man, that's long gone. And it ain't that far gone. I'm telling you, we can think about it, man. We can make it happen again. That thing about the politicians, our young brothers and sisters, man, getting in these city seats, man, becoming assembly persons and things of that nature. Come on, man. How is that not a good look for us? I was having a talk with the sisters, man, mothers of the community, as well as sisters from the tables and beautiful minds. And we were talking about politics and how, our people need to get involved in politics. It's just, is a means, just as a means, man, to get our foot planted, firmly. We can't do nothing. We don't have anybody in there helping, to establish us. We need politicians to get a lot done. And, a lot of us don't know that, but that's true. There's a lot of blockage for us as a people in terms of businesses and stuff or because of politics, so So we got a lot to do, man. We have a lot to do. All right. That being said, man, look, let's just do the work. Let's do the work, man. But in the meantime and in between time, this is the thing, man, that all of us should know and remember, man. No matter, it don't have to come from me. Just, allow that to exist in yourselves, man. Love you. Love yourself first. I think that's part of this get down that we're missing, is the love, the individual love, the love of self. It's important. It's very important, I think, because we don't have that. We're in the position we're in. All right. But when you love yourself enough, man, there's that power. There's that source that love you can come from. It spreads over. It spills over. It goes forth. Love yourself so that you can love the other person just like you, man. Love is needed, man, in this equation. Love is needed in the Black community, man, more than any of us are willing to acknowledge. We need love in the community. That's the only way we're going to get unity. You got to have love in the community. All right. Love yourself so that you can love another. Take care of yourself so that you could take care of that individual looks just like you that needs help. Probably won't admit it, won't ask for it, may not even know it. Do those things, man, and you're doing a service. You're doing a great service, not just to yourself, your family, but your people. All right. Each one teach one, each one reach one. That being said, you have been, and you will be under the groove. Power is in the people, y'all. Power is in us. Take care of yourselves, everybody. One love.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hearst, and writing future history. From the Apollo to the Borough to the Sphere. Where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transform suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. It's in the sergeant, this is once a less than Hatters, hats, and Mercedes. Please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive, watch the applause for polls. Need your data, talks and counsel, any problem when the wet just wanna build the seats and bait. Now don't get the pause. It's just the raising up the times, plead the markets off the main. Make it on the fans, turn and neck and love the durn. Suffers like a kisher. You were wrong to preaching up on side as each alone, bitch on the shit and untrue seeing vets. Someone the very it's on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the Bonavent. You wait something for the marker rate to keep them from the trumpets on the boards to the singer land is carried open slowly. Keep us looking on my mother, break your generosity for the heat and let the peasant be a every time we keep a spawn.